Make hamaf wiel arasta from you are. Life ladies, listen close. This isn't about bitterness. It's about breakthrough. There comes a time in every woman's life when she has to stop asking why he didn't see her worth and start living like she finally sees it herself. There's nothing more sacred than choosing yourself after being forgotten, mishandled, or underestimated. When a man breaks your heart, your spirit doesn't have to break with it. Your power begins the moment you decide to erase him from the chapters of your life that he no longer deserves to appear in. Now hear me, erasing someone isn't about pretending the pain didn't happen. It's about refusing to relive it. You see, erasure isn't an act of cruelty. It's an act of cleansing. It's the decision to wash the residue of his presence from your soul, not to make him suffer, but to free yourself. The weight you were carrying, that wasn't love. That was the illusion of potential. And when the potential collapses, what are you left with? A woman standing in her own storm, realizing she has the strength to walk through it. Start with the silence. You don't need to call. You don't need to post cryptic messages hoping he'll read between the lines. You don't need to show up where he might see you. No. You reclaim your voice by not using it for anything that doesn't return your peace. Silence is not absence. Silence is presence. Your own. Let your life grow so loud that he can't even find an echo of himself in it anymore. Make him feel erased, not because you hate him, but because you've healed beyond him. Don't let your energy be a spotlight on someone who couldn't even show up with a candle when you were in the dark. Let your joy become so contagious, your boundaries so divine, that he realizes, not only is he gone, he's been replaced by grace. You don't just walk away. You disappear with dignity. You don't post about leveling up. You actually do it. You don't cry in public hoping for pity. You heal in private and come back whole. By the time he looks back, he won't find the girl he left. He'll see a woman he'll never get close to again. Let him feel erased by the way you rise. Erase his name from your spirit, from your prayers, from your future. Let him feel the vacuum of your absence, the silence of your no contact, the boundaries you no longer bend. Make him a non-factor, not to hurt him, but to honor yourself. Because you, dear heart, are not disposable. You are not a pause in someone else's journey. You are not a chapter in a story that left you behind. You are the whole book. And guess what? Letting go isn't about revenge. It's not about proving a point, getting the last word, or making sure he sees you thrive. Letting go is not a weapon you wield. It's a prayer you live. It's about reclaiming the sacred space in your life where he once lived rent-free. But it's about turning the page, not to forget, but to finally breathe without the weight of what never grew. When someone walks out of your life, especially someone you gave your love, your time, your faith to, it leaves an echo. And that echo doesn't just fade on its own. It lingers. It waits for you to fill the space back up with memories, with fantasies. What ifs that keep you trapped in a story that's already ended. But here's the truth. You are not required to keep the lights on for someone who moved out a long time ago. Erasing him isn't erasing the lessons. It's not about pretending he never existed. It's about choosing to no longer carry the weight of someone who chose not to carry you. Spiritually, emotionally, mentally. You take back your ground. You take back your identity. You take back every piece of yourself that was slowly handed over in the name of love. but never returned with the same devotion. This is a holy act of self-redemption. It is a deeply personal spiritual shift where you declare that your life is no longer a museum to his memory. You are not a storage unit for his mistakes. You are not an archive of pain. You are a living, breathing temple of healing. And you get to decide what stays and what gets swept clean. You don't have to curse his name to erase him. You don't have to block him in bitterness or rage. In fact, it's much more powerful when it's quiet, when it's sacred, when it's something done, not in anger, but in reverence for your own healing. You erase him when you stop checking to see if he's seen your story. You erase him when your day no longer depends on whether he texted or didn't. You erase him when your heart no longer skips or sinks at the sound of his name. Letting go, truly letting go, means you start to notice the stillness, the peace. The space that was once cluttered by anxiety is now open for joy. The silence that once felt like punishment now feels like sanctuary. You start to grow again, slowly but surely, in places where love had once been stunted. And every step forward becomes a sacred declaration. I am choosing me. Because the truth is, some men never really leave. They linger in your phone, your thoughts, your music playlists. They linger in the way you second. Guess your beauty, your worth, your strength. But when you begin the process of spiritual erasure, you start to recognize the lie. He was never the source of your light. He only dimmed it. You are allowed to grieve, but you are not required to stay in the graveyard of what never loved you well. Your heart is not a memorial to his memory. It is a garden waiting to bloom again. And with every boundary you enforce, with every time you choose peace over chaos, you plant something new, something sacred. The world will tell you that erasing someone is cold, but the truth, it's divine. It's the kind of silence heaven celebrates. It's what happens when you finally understand that healing doesn't need his apology. Closure isn't something he gives. It's something you choose. And maybe he'll notice, maybe he won't. But that's not the point. The point is that you noticed. You noticed that you've been surviving on crumbs, and now you want to feast. You noticed that you've been living in a story that stopped serving your soul. You noticed that you deserve more than almost, maybe, or someday. You are allowed to erase him not because he's worthless, but because you're worthy of a clean space to grow again. Worthy of joy that doesn't have conditions. Worthy of love that stays. Worthy of waking up and not feeling that invisible pull to something that already let go of you. So, no, you're not being petty. You're being powerful. The most powerful response isn't always loud. It's not found in the rage-filled text, the tearful voice note, or the long, over-explained goodbye. True power, the kind that transforms your soul and resets your worth, often comes in silence. Not the kind that punishes, but the kind that protects. It's the divine silence that speaks louder than 1,000 explanations. You're not ignoring him. You're elevating beyond his access. There's something sacred about not responding, about choosing stillness when your emotions scream for release. Silence is not weakness. It's strength in its most spiritual form. When you say nothing, you allow your actions to echo in ways words never could. When a man expects your reaction, your tears, your confusion, and instead he gets peace, that's when he realizes you've left the room, not just physically, but spiritually. You didn't go quiet because you ran out of things to say. You went quiet because you outgrew the need to be understood by someone who was committed to misunderstanding you. You stopped justifying your worth. You stopped trying to remind him of your value. Because the moment you realize how high you're called to go, you stop explaining yourself to people who live on the ground floor of your destiny. He will feel that silence. Not at first, maybe, but slowly, deeply. Your silence will confront him in ways your arguments never did. It will speak every sentence you didn't send. Every. I deserved more. That you swallowed. Every night you cried and chose not to make him the center of your healing. He may scroll through old messages, replay moments in his head, and wonder why he no longer has the power to disturb your peace. That's not avoidance. That's alignment. You are not meant to stay in spaces where your voice is only heard when you raise it. You are not meant to spend your life proving your heart to someone who couldn't even hold it with care. The divine silence you step into is a doorway. It leads you back to yourself. It reminds you that peace isn't just a feeling, it's a boundary. It's a decision to no longer participate in relationships that make you feel like you're not enough. There's a lie that silence is passive. But in truth, silence can be the loudest boundary you'll ever set. It tells him you no longer have access to the version of me that tolerated your absence, your inconsistency, your excuses. It tells him, I won't play the game where I have to beg to be seen. And it tells your heart, I deserve peace more than I deserve closure. When you don't react, you reclaim your power. You take yourself out of the emotional tug of war. You stop handing him the pen to write your next chapter. Your silence becomes the proof that your healing is no longer connected to his apology, his regret, or his return. He doesn't get to be the main character in your story anymore. In fact, your story gets even better without him in it. The loudest revenge isn't in what you say. It's in the life you build where his name is no longer relevant. It's in the glow that doesn't come from makeup or filters, but from peace. That internal, divine glow that comes from no longer entertaining chaos, from choosing wholeness, from resting in your sacred silence. Silence is not a punishment. It's a release. It's the moment you hand back everything he projected onto you. The blame, the confusion, the emotional mess, and walk away without a single look back. Not because you're bitter, but because you're better. You are better than begging, better than over-explaining, better than staying stuck in conversations that lead nowhere. And yes, there may be moments when you're tempted to reach out, to say one more thing, to correct the story in his mind. But pause, breathe, trust that the silence is already saying enough. He'll hear it when the noise in his life dies down. He'll feel it when he realizes that your absence isn't temporary, it's permanent. Because you didn't just leave, you outgrew him. You didn't go silent because you didn't care. You went silent because you finally did. You chose to care for yourself more than you cared about being heard by someone who didn't listen the first time. And that, dear one, is how you rise. Not with noise, not with vengeance, but with sacred, powerful silence. You don't just get over a man. That phrase is too small for the transformation you're stepping into. This isn't about bouncing back. This isn't about moving on like nothing ever happened. What you're doing is much deeper than that. You are rising, spiritually, emotionally, soulfully. You are not merely healing, you are evolving. You're rewriting the narrative of your life, not to prove him wrong, but to live so right, so whole, so aligned that he becomes irrelevant in the story that was never his to write in the first place. Getting over someone suggests detachment, but rising. Rising means transcendence. It means looking back not with regret, but with clarity. It means acknowledging that you outgrew the version of yourself that settled for his bare minimum. You see, getting over a man can be temporary, but rising after him, that's eternal. That's legacy work. That's healing so deeply that he's not even a shadow in your light anymore. When a man mishandles your heart, your healing isn't found in revenge, rebound relationships, or proving your worth to him. That's a distraction. That's a detour. True healing, the kind that liberates you, comes when you shift your focus inward. When you stop asking, "Why didn't he choose me?" and start declaring, "I choose myself now completely." That's when the real rising begins. Because here's the truth. He was never the destination. He was a detour on the way to your divine assignment. And while it hurt, yes, deeply, he was also the catalyst that pushed you into a version of yourself you didn't even know you had access to. Sometimes it takes being broken by the wrong hands to discover how sacred and strong your spirit really is. So no, you don't just get over him. You rise until you're no longer even in the same emotional atmosphere. You rise until the things that once triggered you now teach you. Until your scars become symbols of strength, not shame. You rise until you look in the mirror and don't see heartbreak. You see rebirth. This is the season where you stop narrating your life from the perspective of what he did or didn't do. You are not the woman he left. You are the woman who rose after. The one who learned how to love herself in the silence he left behind. The one who made peace louder than pain. The one who turned what tried to break her into the fire that built her. You rewrite the narrative not through loud declarations, but through quiet, consistent transformation. He doesn't need to see your glow up. He doesn't need to hear about your healing. You're not doing this for his regret. You're doing it for your restoration. His opinion is no longer your measuring stick. His presence or absence no longer determines your worth. You are not who you are because he loved you. You are who you are because you chose to rise even after he didn't. Let your life speak what words never could. Let your joy speak of your release. Let your peace speak of your growth. Let your boundaries speak of your rebirth. And one day, he might look back, searching for a trace of the girl who used to wait on him, cry for him, shrink for him. And he won't find her. Because she didn't just get over him, she rose. And when you rise like that, you don't need revenge. You don't need validation. The woman you've become is enough of a statement. Your healing is your closure. Your success is your silence. And your freedom, that's your full circle moment. Because real rising is quiet. It doesn't demand attention, it commands it. It shows up in the way you laugh again without guilt. In the way you walk into a room no longer wondering if he'll be there. In the way you sleep deeply without hoping for a message. You've stopped keeping space in your heart for someone who couldn't even show up for you fully. You've reclaimed your time, your energy, your power, and most importantly, your story. So no, you don't just get over him. You become so deeply rooted in your own value, your own joy, your own healing, that he simply doesn't fit into the new atmosphere you're breathing in.